Good evening. Before we get started, if there's anyone that would like to speak this evening during public comment, don't forget to turn in a public comment card. It would be greatly appreciated.
Good evening, everyone. It is 6:30, so we'll go ahead and call this city council meeting and public hearing for August 17th, 2026. Call this to order. Note for the record, all members of council are present and accounted for. And as always, we begin our meetings with the Pledge of Allegiance. So if you're willing and able, please stand and join us.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So the first item on our agenda this evening is the consent agenda. Consent agenda consists of the motion and, consists of the city council meeting minutes from the meeting of August 3rd, 2026. Is there anyone that would like to remove anything from the consent agenda? Do I have a motion from council?
So moved?
Second.
I have a motion by Councilwoman Reeves, second by Councilman Dorito. Any discussion? All those in favor, please vote yes. And it does pass unanimously. So we'll move on to the public hearing portion of today's meeting. And to begin, I'd like to have our city attorney, Molly Aswine, announce the procedures for our public hearings here.
An individual requesting to be heard on a matter related to the purpose of the hearing must be recognized by the mayor before addressing the city council. Upon rising to speak, the speaker must identify himself or herself and furnish a home or business address before proceeding with any comments or remarks. The council will allow proponents a total of 10 minutes to speak in support of an application. Opponents will be allowed 10 minutes to speak in opposition. Comments are accepted first from the applicant, followed by persons speaking in favor, and then from those in opposition. Upon conclusion of any opposing comments or presentations, the mayor will allow the applicant to offer rebuttal if any time is remaining in the originally allotted 10 minutes.
Thank you, Ms. Aswine. And the first item up in public hearing is MP-26-05/CLUP-26-03/Z-26-03 Empire Old Milton Parkway, Camden Pond. Mr. Woodman, I believe you have the floor this evening.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. The first item before you this evening is a request for master plan amendment, comprehensive land use plan amendment, and rezoning that would allow for the construction of 195 for-sale townhomes. The property is 29.24 acres. The Empire Communities would develop the western half of the property, and Toll Brothers would develop the eastern half of the property. The master plan amendment is to the Camden Pond master plan to change the use of the property from office to residential. Comprehensive land use plan amendment is from professional business office to high-density residential. And the rezoning is from CUP community unit plan to R10M. Property, this is the location map is on the overhead. The property is located at 3842 Old Milton Parkway. And the proposed density within this townhome development would be 6.66 dwelling units per acre. This property is currently undeveloped. Surrounding properties are Camden Pond and Stone Ridge to the east. The Big Creek and Greenway, as well as Preston Ridge Park, are located to the north. Old Milton Commons office condominiums are located to the west, and the future Portman Brookside mixed-use development is located to the south. As I mentioned, the comprehensive land use plan designation is professional business office, which does require the amendment to allow for residential development. The Camden Pond Master Plan was approved in 1984. It allowed a mix of high-density residential, office, and commercial. Stone Ridge and Camden Pond subdivisions were developed on the east side of the master plan. General commercial or C2 uses were approved in the out parcels along Old Milton Parkway, and the undeveloped property, the subject of this request, is approved for office institutional uses. This is the applicant's site plan. The site plan, of course, has 195 for-sale townhomes. Pod A is on the west side of the development. That's the side that Empire would develop. Pod A consists of 105 townhomes. That is within 20 buildings. They're all 3-story. On the west side, 33 of the buildings would be front-loaded, 72 would be rear-loaded. The eastern half of the property, Pod B, would be developed by Toll Brothers. There are 90 for-sale townhome units in 17 buildings, again, 3 stories. 26 units are front-loaded and 64 units are rear-loaded. The townhomes on both Pod A and B have a variety of 20 to 24-foot wide townhomes. And within the site plan, the stream buffers and floodplain associated with Big Creek are depicted in the hatched areas, and the development does respect those buffers and floodplain. Access to the property will continue from the Cotton Creek entry off of Old Milton Parkway, Waters Ferry Way, and on the east side, Cotton Mill Place. Within the development, you can see there's a series of streets and alleys that have been identified in the site plan that would serve the townhomes. On the east side of the development and adjacent to Camden Pond, there is a larger 60-foot setback as well as a 25-foot undisturbed tree save strip along that property line. And that was done by the applicant in order to address concerns that were voiced by residents in Camden Pond and Stone Ridge. Open space within the site plan amounts to about just under 13 acres, 12.85 acres of open space. The zoning would require just 4.39 acres or 15% to be set aside as open space. So they do exceed the minimum requirement. In Pod A, so the western side of the development, that side is closer to the Big Creek. That includes a clubhouse with pool and mail kiosk. There's common space throughout that side of the development, sidewalks. There is a trail connection that would take you up to across the Big Creek and over to Preston Ridge Park, as well as the YMCA. And you can see that connection here. And then there are some larger open space areas within that pod as well. And then Pod B, the east side of the development, includes a plaza as well as a 60-foot strip, which represents that building setback that would be maintained as open space. The Unified Development Code requires 1 parking space for each bedroom. There would be a total of 585 parking spaces required for this development. The site plan is showing that each of the townhomes will have 2 side-by-side parking spaces in a garage, as well as 2 spaces on a code-compliant driveway, for a total of 780 spaces. And then there are additional 56 guest spaces throughout the entire development. As it relates to trees, let me take you to a tree save plan. Again, I mentioned there is a 25-foot tree save / buffer along the east and north side of Pod B, adjacent to Camden Pond. Trees will be saved within that 25-foot strip. And then additional trees will be saved around the perimeter of the property here, as well as all the buffer and floodplain on the property. The trees will also be saved. There are 2 existing detention ponds on the property today, one down here in the corner that serves the commercial out parcels, and there's also an existing stormwater pond here that serves Stone Ridge. There are 2 additional stormwater ponds proposed within the development. In Pod B, you have a stormwater pond in this location here, and then in Pod A, up at the north end of the development adjacent to the existing stormwater pond. The applicant provided some renderings. These renderings would be for the Empire as well as the Toll Brother portions of the development. You have front elevations. They're showing you side elevations, which have a higher level of detail. The chimney added with the additional windows and And there's a variety of different product types throughout the development. There are a total of 3 different product types in each side of the development for a total of 6. And then you'll see some chimneys on the ends of units, and there is a condition related to which buildings would have those chimneys. Of course, the side elevations that are adjacent to a public street, we want the higher level of detail on those side elevations. So there is an exhibit, a chimney exhibit, and I'll show you that as I'm going through these. And I'll let the applicant speak to their renderings. And this is that chimney exhibit that is referenced in the conditions. The units that have the pink and indicate a location where a chimney will be on the end of the building. Of course, we looked at the traffic for this development. The trip generation report indicates that the townhome community would generate approximately 100 a.m. peak hour trips and 103 p.m. peak hour trips. That actually represents a 113% decrease in AM peak hour trips and 105% decrease in PM peak hour trips when you compare it to an office development of this site. The applicant also provided a traffic impact study, analyzed the 3 existing intersections. The study concluded that no changes or improvements were recommended at the 3 study intersections, and the results indicate the study intersections would continue to operate at an overall acceptable level of service in the AM and PM peak hours. Looking at the review criteria for the master plan amendment, comprehensive land use plan amendment, and rezoning, proposal is suitable given the development of adjacent and nearby properties, which include Stone Ridge and Camden Pond, as well as Preston Ridge Park and the Big Creek Greenway. The comprehensive plan also identifies Old Milton Parkway east of George 400 as a priority area in need of redevelopment. It suggests creating activity nodes near or within existing suburban office parks. Of course, Brookside Office Park is just to the south of this development. And then the city's jobs to housing ratio suggests a need for additional housing. The proposed residential development would generate significantly less traffic than an office park developed at this location, and the site plan is supported by over 12 acres of open space. The applicant provided a citizen participation plan. They indicated that they had several meetings with the adjacent HOAs in Camden Pond and Stone Ridge, as well as with residents. Questions and comments at those meetings included price points, unit size and type, the Cotton Creek entry cul-de-sac. So the existing cul-de-sac, there were concerns that that would remain. We do have conditions that the applicant would come back to abandon that cul-de-sac. Apparently, it's just used as a place for folks to park and maybe get into no-good situations. Erosion control is also identified as a concern, tree removal, traffic, use of the amenities, the impact to property values, trail connection, stormwater, landscape and buffering, timing of the development, and hours of construction were questions and concerns that were voiced. Staff also received similar concerns and questions from the HOA and residents. And at the January 14th Community Zoning Information Meeting, there were similar concerns and questions that were brought up at that meeting. Also today, I just wanted to note that we did receive a public comment card from the owner of the Andy's Custard that was added to your packets today. That comment card was in favor of the applicant's requests. Again, it was from Andy's. And then we also received a petition from a resident, I believe in the Camden Pond neighborhood. The petition was signed by, I believe, residents within Camden Pond. I don't know if it also included Stone Ridge, asking for conditions to be added requiring a sidewalk connection between Camden Pond and over to Cotton Creek entry. There's a missing sidewalk gap. That's already a condition of zoning that's recommended in the conditions. And that petition also asked for, I believe, a 100-foot buffer between this development and Camden Pond. So because those were received today, I just wanted to announce that, but I believe they were also included in your packet. And then Planning Commission considered this request at their July 30th meeting. There were several public comments and support, including from Andy's Custard, Portman Holdings, the adjacent HOAs. Reasons for support included the tree saves that the applicant was proposing, the tree buffer and setback that they provided adjacent to Camden Pond, believed that the applicants, the builders, had a quality product type and less traffic impacts. There were also several comments in opposition at Planning Commission with concerns over traffic, pedestrian safety, unsafe conditions on Old Milton Parkway, and a larger buffer between the developments. After discussion, Planning Commission did recommend approval subject to the staff recommended conditions, and there were 25. Those are the 25 conditions in the staff report in your packets. And that concludes my presentation. If you have questions, I'm happy to answer those.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Michael, let's go back to this request for a 100-foot buffer. I mean, I'm sensitive to neighbors for sure. You said there's a 60-foot setback or a 60-foot buffer?
So along this property line here, you have the first, there's a 25-foot along the property line, a 25-foot tree save undisturbed buffer. And then there's also a 60-foot building setback that is over top of that. So the buildings couldn't come any closer. This is the 60-foot line here that you're seeing.
So a total of 85 feet.
It's the 25-foot overlaps the 60-foot.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
So
the
still
25
60
is on
feet,
top of
which
it.
is more than we normally do.
We do not require buffers residential to residential. All that would be required along this property line per our code would be a 5-foot landscape strip.
All right, thank you.
Councilwoman Ridge?
In the recommendations, it references connection to the Greenway.
Yes.
And it looked like in the condition that if it was subject to a federal permit, that wouldn't be required. I may have read that wrong, but it also left open to interpretation, should it be a federal permit be required, which wouldn't surprise me, you know, given the Greenway.
Yeah.
In fact, I think it's highly likely. Is there still commitment to follow through on that connection?
Yes, I do believe that there's still a commitment. What they're referring to there, so there's a trail connection Portion of that would be on the applicant's property. They would improve that as part of their open space requirement. They would not receive any impact fees for that improvement on their property. But the connection actually to get over to the Big Creek Greenway, which is the green line here, would require going off-site onto the city's property, and there is an existing pedestrian bridge that the applicant would be replacing as part of this, which could require, because it's going over Big Creek, federal permits with that. So the condition actually says, it's condition number 14, and it's a rather long condition, but towards the end of that condition, it says, if a federal permit is required, developer and staff will work together to extend the trail connection completion deadline without stopping the developer from seeking COs. So there's commitment to do it, it's just that the federal process may take a little bit longer. Because we have in the sentence that precedes that, we require that the trail construction be completed by the 25th CO. So there's 195 units, we're asking for that trail connection by the 25th CO. If they have federal permitting requirements, we would work with the applicant and allow them to extend that out, but it still is required improvement.
I think it would be, I think there might be a clearer language opportunity there. I haven't spelled it out, but
Okay.
I think you understand what I'm saying. It looks like it leaves open to interpretation, the finish of it, if there's a federal permit required, and if there's a bridge over Big Creek, it's probably a federal permit required. So, going on the likelihood of that, is there a way that we could phrase that more clearly so that it's understood that that is an expectation with that condition?
We can look at that while the applicant is making their presentation.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Woodman? Thank you, sir. Would the applicant like to come forward at this time?
All right. Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Jessica Hill. My business address is 600 Peachtree Street, and I represent the applicant. I'm joined by a whole host of people behind me from both Toll Brothers and Empire and all the consultants. So we have anybody to answer any questions you've got. Mr. Woodman, as usual, was very thorough, so I'm going to jump right into some things that we didn't talk about. Why is this site a good site for townhomes? You can see the site in green on this plan. A couple things about it. It has great access. It has 3 access points that are existing public roads, direct access to Old Milton Parkway. The Brookside mixed-use development is directly across the street. We think that this project will be both accretive to the neighborhood commercial that's proposed in it, as well as making it a more cohesive development. Avalon and downtown Alpharetta are both located in close proximity. Obviously, the site has very convenient access to Georgia 400 and the local job concentrations. The housing market analysis that's in the recent comprehensive plan shows Alpharetta in red, kind of in the middle of the townhome housing inventory. So it's about 12.4% of your housing stock is townhomes. So you're below some of your peers and above some of your peers. So we think there's opportunity, particularly for a project like the one that we've designed. We're calling this Brookside North. We stole the name, but again, we think that this is a great opportunity to expand this whole ecosystem and support both not only the Big Creek Greenway and the park, but also Georgia State, the office across the street, and the commercial. Let Ben Wood talk about trails.
Kenneth Wood, 350 Research Court. So thank you guys for letting us speak on the trail connectivity. You can kind of see it there. We talked about coming over, basically replacing the existing bridge that you have there. The trail connection continues throughout the entire development. This would be a completely connected, meaning all the way from adjacent neighbors, all the way through every roads that we either front or come by for. Every part of that is going to be connected now as part of the development that you're seeing. There was a lot of discussion about the products. Those have been elevated. These are all just comparisons about what they were and then how they were elevated as we kind of went through the initial ones that you guys had seen and kind of where they are to this day. The lesson we're kind of looking at is the why. You know, one of the reasons choosing this is a flag was planted in the ground with Portman, bringing looking at new restaurants, new locations. I personally drive the corridor all the time and seeing the restaurant across the street kind of go in and out of different ideas, different uses. But being able to have this as a place in East Alpharetta, to really have a place where people can go, once you're here, once you're at home, you kind of have everything. If you want to go eat, you can walk across the street, and we've got plenty of exhibits to kind of show the new crosswalks and everything that'll be provided. The new roadways that we're looking at being able to provide. We also have about everything you can come to. You have office, you have Georgia State, you have the church, you have all the restaurants and all the retail uses, and it'll only elevate the area. The next thing we're looking at is basically the neighbors. We've had amazing communication with the neighbors, and they've really helped us sculpt the plan to what you see today. We were at 206 units when we started. We had different road connections. Now we have T intersections where they ask us to. It took a lot of grading and looking at it, a lot of changes, but you see where we come in and you have open spaces as you arrive. You have a lot of different changes to the plan, and a big credit for them in helping us get the plan as best as you see there today for that. And with that, I've got some other people that want to talk and support too. Okay, just kidding.
Just kidding.
I think Andy, is he not here? Yeah. Oh, okay. Okay. So a couple of things, kind of moving on from this, on Old Milton. So I don't know if you guys have this in your packet. So a couple of things we've been talking to GDOT about, and this did come from the neighbors as well. There were comments about, you know, there are some traffic concerns. How can we alleviate them? So we started meeting out there and going over, you know, the lane width is there. The way it's set up is one of the problems. So what we've been out when talking about is being able to make a dedicated left. Right now it's a straight and left. So you kind of play chicken out in the intersection, seeing if the other person can go. And by that time, it's exhausted the green time for that left turn. So with this configuration, we can make a dedicated left and then have the right and straight and be able to take this lane all the way up. We've been talking to Andy's about his driveway there being more limited access, and then also extending it all the way to the intersection of Cotton Place. And then when you're looking at the decel lanes, basically on both opposing sides, they're a little bit shorter. We brought it to GDOT's attention. They both acknowledged that, and it's something that they are looking into, and it's something that we're willing to do if for some reason in their project they don't update their plans to do it. We also looked at the other crosswalk intersection at this location too, from going there. That's the timeline.
And just one last item, this is the timeline showing, up top is the green Old Milton Parkway expansion project. You see it's supposed to end right around July of 2029, and what you see in orange is the proposed sales and closing period for this project, which looks like it's going to start in, you know, January of 29, with obviously a sales period for multiple years. So just showing how this project will deliver in accordance with the GDOT project. And we will reserve any remaining time for rebuttal, because I know there are some folks that want to speak.
Do we have any questions for the applicant? Councilman Brady? And I'll work my way back this way.
Yep, I just,
Councilman Jarita?
You mentioned the cul-de-sac. I didn't know in that last visual or the rendering, is that turned into green space, or is that going to remain pavement? I wasn't sure in that last one. It kind of looked like it almost turned into green space, so I wasn't sure of that representation.
Yeah, real quick. Hold on a sec.
Ken's going to pull up, but we have a visual for this. But one of the things we heard at one of the initial meetings we had with the neighborhood was that the cul-de-sac at the end of Cotton Creek entry is used for people not up to good, I think was the comment. And the proposal is to abandon it and make it into a park area, basically an extension of the Greenway Trail that we're proposing. So you can see kind of off to the left, if you want to use your little cursor, you can see, yeah, you can see there's the trail there. And then we just proposed, you know, paths and, you know, maybe a seating area. But obviously this will be part of the homeowners association for them to maintain. So we want to make sure that it's passive but attractive.
Is the trails, I guess, is a trailhead, which looks much better than the cul-de-sac.
Yes.
Is that accessible to all the pedestrians around, or is it restricted at all?
No, it would be accessible to all pedestrians. There'd be an
Okay.
easement,
Great, thank
public
you.
easement, yep.
Thank you.
Pardon, Councilman Dorito, do you mind to turn on your microphone?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Mr. Wood, you mentioned your discussions with GDOT on their project along Old Milton Parkway. So if they agree to those improvements, is that something that the applicant would pay for, or where's the funding for those intersection improvements coming from?
So so it's a little bit of a two-prong. And Abdul is actually here. He had the discussions as well on our traffic side. The improvements over here, which are the main ones, that the left turns are probably the single largest problem. When we talked to the neighbors, you know, they were talking about, you kind of get in where you're trying to turn left and you have an opposing car that's trying to do the same thing. But unless they're, you know, use their blinkers and do the different thing, you kind of sit for a second, and all the while the green line's burning. And so that's one of the biggest issues, is that is something we can control. We can control that on our side. The lane width is there. We've had the discussions with Andy about bringing the sidewalk all the way down and restriping and making what's needed there. The crosswalks are something that was discussed with GDOT, basically expanding the left turn lanes because there wasn't enough, you know, storage lane on there. And then the discussions with Portman also have been had on the other side about having the same type of configurations there. So the majority of it we can control. With the decel lane, that obviously can be done in the future if it's not something that GDOT adds to their plans, but we did have good discussions about them adding that as part of their additions too.
I guess I'm just, the reason why I raised the question is what I do not want to see happen is when if this is approved and it gets constructed and some of these intersection improvements are not either agreed to by GDOT, I would imagine the residents in the future would be looking to their city council to try to make those improvements at a pretty costly amount of money. So,
Can I ask Abdul to come up? He might
Sure.
be able to answer, because I
just
believe
wanna
that
get a
we can
sense of,
file a permit
like,
if we needed to.
I hope your discussions are that either GDOT's going to reconfigure their plan to include those. Go ahead, Abdul, I'm sorry.
Good evening. My name is Abdul. I'm here with A&R Engineering, 2160 Kingston Court, Marietta. We've had several meetings with Georgia DOT about extension of the left turn lanes in their design. Last meeting we had district engineer in it, some people from general office, project managers. It was a pretty powerful meeting. And from all appearance, they were willing to extend the left turn lanes and modify their design. They were not willing to make changes to the side street, i.e. Cotton Creek entry, although they thought what we were recommending was improvements that would help the operation. So I think they suggested that any changes to the lane configuration on Cotton Creek be done under a permit paid for by the developer. And they were willing to consider lengthening the left turn lane as part of the design.
Okay,
That's our understanding at this point.
thank you.
Thank you.
And we're prepared to pay for that part.
Any other questions for the applicants? Councilwoman Reeves.
So would that agreement with GDOT, when would the city know about the agreement with GDOT to get the left-hand turn lanes extended?
So for this section here, the section here would be part of, like you said, would be part of the permitting process.
Or what about the left-hand turn lane in the center, the extended?
So in the center,
Queue.
so they're already installing the additional left turn.
They are?
We're proposing that they extend that.
Right.
And so we have to have more conversations to see if they would extend that. If for some reason they would not, we can file a permit with GDOT to offer that additional extension. It's just a matter of, can they change their plans, since they've already started construction, to add that additional lane.
There's also a zoning condition, number 17, which provides the developer shall improve the eastbound left turn lane storage length on Old Milton Parkway, which is the left,
Right.
the left one that you see. So it's an obligation on the developer if it's not done by GDOT.
But you need GDOT's permission, because it's a GDOT road, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Any other questions for the applicant? Thank you. So next, we'll be taking public comments in favor.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, we have 3 public comment cards that have been submitted in favor and a couple in opposition.
Okay, will you please proceed?
Yes. So first up, we have Beverly Weisenot and then Darlene Cutlip, if you want to go ahead and come up.
Is the clock right?
I pause it in between speakers, so once she starts, then I'll start the clock back.
Just wanted to
Oh,
make sure that was
have we
right.
started the clock yet? Am I on? Okay.
You have the floor.
My name is Beverly Wisnett. I am on the HOA board for the Stone Ridge community. We recognize that Camden Pond has a whole different set of concerns and issues. We have issues with the development that Stone Ridge does not share with Camden Pond. We're completely separate. The issues that Stone Ridge has center on the retention pond. We own a very small slice of that pond, and the rest of it is part of the original owner's property. Don't ask me why it was done that way, who knows? We also have problems with the cul-de-sac. We can attest that there has been drug activity down there, there's been car racing, there have been bonfires that have been lit, and it's constant, up to no good, as you said. We have met with the builders several times, and they have been very open to listening to our concerns. Changes, excuse me, changes have been made to the development based on some of our suggestions. Empire is also working with us on the retention pond, the ownership of it, the maintenance of the dam on it, and we haven't got everything sorted out yet, but they are working with us to do that. And also on the proposal to abandon the cul-de-sac and turn it into green space that not only would benefit their community, but would benefit ours as well. We would have full access to that. Because of the cooperation that's been shown by the developers, and as a matter of fact, the Planning Commission meeting, someone on the Planning Commission said that it was an unusual amount of cooperation that we've had with Empire and Toll Brothers, that it doesn't always work out that way. But they have been very open to listening to our concerns, taking our suggestions, and because of that, the Stone Ridge community is in favor of this proposed development. That's it.
Thank you very much.
And then Ms. Darlene and then Mike Green, if you want to go ahead and.
And collectively, you have 2 minutes and 5 seconds, so you might want to think about how well you use your time.
My name is Darlene Cutlip. I live at 3025 Camden Way, and I'm the president of Camden Pond, which is comprised of 77 of the total 95 units in our community. Although our board originally chose not to take an official stance on the rezoning request, we have had several in-depth discussions regarding the proposed development with the developers, and that actually was 4 meetings plus the original community zoning information. From the initial presentation and throughout the entire process, we've been impressed with the fact that the developers have taken our questions and concerns into consideration and have made concessions and changes to accommodate many of the same, as she mentioned. At each consecutive meeting, they presented and thoroughly explained those changes. As a board, we were disappointed that more of our owners didn't attend the meeting because there was some inaccurate and misleading information that circulated through the community, and we felt that if they had been there, they would have been able to see what all concessions and changes that they had actually made for us. And we're hoping that they are either watching tonight, or maybe they had seen the Planning Commission meeting where they could see that
You have 1 minute.
several commissions, commissioners did say that that the developers had made the changes, and a lot of times developers don't make any changes. So all of our board members approved the development, and we feel that overall it will increase the value of ours and all the properties affected by this rezoning, and that the development as proposed to and approved by the City Planning Commission will be an asset to the area.
Thank you very much. Ms. Shapiro?
Mike Green.
You have 23 seconds. Speedy Gonzalez.
My name is Mike Green, 303 Peachtree Center Avenue. I represent Portman Holdings. We support the project. We would love to see the additional housing across the street to support the retail. Thank you.
You got 13 more seconds. Still adjusting my
Is that all the positive support we have?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, those are all in favor at this time.
All right. Do we have any opposition?
We do. First is Ash Battistelli, and then next up will be Judy McDaniel.
My name is Ash Battistelli, here to speak on behalf of Megan Lister, who is unable to be present due to a compromised immune system. I will be reading out loud the comment that she wrote on behalf of her community. My name is Megan Lister. I speak today as a homeowner of 3996 Camden Way, an officer of Camden Pond 2, and as a trusted neighbor to residents in both associations. Over the last 6 months, I have repeatedly connected with them, answered questions, heard their concerns, and been asked to give them a voice. Even since this application process began in February, the vast majority of individuals I spoke with were not at all opposed to compromising with the applicants. We do not, however, feel that the accommodations offered adequately address Camden Pond's risk of being the worst impacted. After a weekend of going door to door, this is what we believe is needed for our community. Number one, increase the buffer from 25 feet to 100 feet minimum between Avalon Drive and the Toll Brothers Division. This would be undisturbed buffer, save for the next condition. Number two, build a multi-use paved trail publicly accessible that connects the crosswalk of Whitestone Place to a public sidewalk between Camden Way and Cotton Mill Place. Number three, increase the stream buffer on the Empire Homes property division from 25 feet to 100 feet minimum. Through this, the aforementioned trail and condition 2 could then be expanded to connect to Waters Ferry Drive. The first conditions have had a nearly 100% approval rate, with 42 residents enthusiastically providing their signature as proof of support. The third condition is optional but highly encouraged. It was discussed verbally with all and proved just as popular. We believe that these conditions will allow for the development to still occur, while at the same time bringing benefits, providing protection, and ameliorating the effects of a zoning change to all neighbors. Since Camden Pond faces the worst impacts from the proposed development, we believe that our conditions will do the following for us. As one of the only communities without safe access to a left turn light, reduced density will reduce competition with other drivers. Additionally, it will also reduce the concerns of bottleneck congestion to any residents that live off of Cotton Creek entries such as Stone Ridge. A trail that goes through the increased buffer will provide a more comfortable walk in the shade and a more natural setting than walking along Old Milton Parkway or in front of homes. It will also protect users much more from cars. The CDC states most pedestrian deaths occur on high-capacity urban roads that typically have posted speed limits of 45 to 55 miles per hour. Many of these roads suffer from a design conflict between providing destinations such as stores or restaurants that people need to access and allowing high travel speeds that often prioritize vehicle movement. The increased undisturbed buffer will help shield Camden Pond from the noise pollution of Old Milton Parkway, increased urban heat island effect, air pollution, flooding, loss of privacy, loss of the wildlife corridor, reduction in quality of life, and reduction in property values. These conditions also extend similar benefits and more to the local businesses, existing and future communities, and furthers many of the goals in the 2045 Comprehensive Plan. For example, the developers could see increased home values due to proximity of a high-quality urban trail. The USDA estimates increases of 5 to 32% with higher values corresponding to desirable visual characteristics and recreational opportunities. The city could enjoy a reliable return on investment. In 2026, Trust for Public Land found that for every dollar invested in parks and recreation returns, on average, at least $3 in local economic benefits each year. This comes from reduced stormwater treatment costs, lower healthcare costs, rising tax revenues, and more. Andy's Frozen Custard, for example, might see more reliable foot traffic by being a place that families can buy their treats before they take to the trail. The city can also enjoy a further expansion and networking of trails consistent with the comprehensive plan. There is a way to move forward with development while still balancing the needs of public health, safety, morality, and welfare. We at Camden Pond believe that these conditions can help accomplish just that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, Judy McDaniel. Wonderful, thank you. And those are all the public comment cards that I have in opposition at this time, Mr. Mayor.
Is there anyone else that wants to come forward and speak in opposition? I do not see anyone coming forward, so we'll close public comment in opposition. Would the applicant like to rebut any of that?
All right, I'll talk fast. The opposition has asked for a 100-foot buffer. Your code provides for a 50-foot buffer if this was an industrial site. As noted by Mr. Woodman, that only a 5-foot landscape strip is required, so we believe that the 20-foot tree buffer as well as the 60-foot setback is a sufficient accommodation. A lot of the issues.
Sorry to interrupt, but that's time.
Pardon? Oh. Okay. We got to raise that clock so I can see what's going on down there without breaking my neck. So, thank you for your comments. Do we have any questions from council? Seeing none, do we have a motion?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor, to offer a motion this evening to approve MP-26-05/CLUP-26-03/Z-26-03 Empire Old Milton Parkway, Camden Pond, as presented this evening, but I want to point something out. The number of units is 195, correct? Okay, there's a printout that may have been handed out in the back that says 202, so I don't know where, if we got the same ones. Just to clarify that is at 195 units.
Yeah, it's in my agenda as well.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Do we have a second? We have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem, second by Councilman Driscoll. Any discussion? Councilman Dorito?
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you for everyone that spoke this evening, the applicant and our city staff. This particular application has a history. First and foremost, I want to thank Empire and Toll Brothers for outreach into the community, Snowbridge and Camden. I know there's a lot of people on both sides of the issue there, and I think a lot of changes were made by the applicant to try to accommodate some of the concerns of the neighborhood there. I'm supporting this evening, and I want to tell you why. When I joined back on council in 2022, I think, and Kathy could correct me if I'm wrong here, but I think that's when we went through the whole Brookside overlay study with the interests of the city council at the time to try to reinvigorate this area of the city. It's a critical area of the city because it's close to 400, Old Milton Parkway. We worked through the applications from Portman Holdings to do what they're already beginning the project on the other side of the road, south side of the road of this application. And to make that successful, and kind of the vision of the city was to not only provide mixed use in that area, but hopefully entice the state to continue investment in Georgia State and expand that campus. And a critical part of the success of the plan was to provide housing options for that area of the city. If you look at any kind of development around the country today, I mean, mixed-use developments and the type of housing options available with these types of developments are pretty critical to the success and the attractiveness of investments to come into our city and achieve the results of the overlay that the city council kind of visioned and put in place to attract investment, attract development, or redevelopment, and provide options to the residents of that area, not only to, kind of reinvigorate that area of the city, because frankly, the office, I think the office occupancy in that area is the lowest in the city. And so we felt we needed to do something to kind of, I hate to use the word regentrify, because sometimes that's taken not in a good way from some people. I know there's been a lot of discussions on the floodplain there and making sure that we're not, potentially approving residential development in an area that could be flooded. So we had discussions on making sure we protect any future occupant of that property from any floodplain damage that could occur in the future. I mean, Mother Nature's Mother Nature. We can't guarantee it, but I think, I know we expressed to the applicant that we wanted to make sure that they addressed that, and I believe that they did in their application. That's why I'm supporting this evening. I think it's, continues with the success of what's already happening there with Portman. And hopefully we'll get to a point of some really nice restaurants. I know we're going to be planned for the area there and make it a little bit more walkable and make it an exciting part of the city, just like the rest of Alpharetta. So just wanted to express my vote.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, Councilman Dorita hit on some great points. This city and the leadership in this city continues to work with a vision going forward. And when you have a city limited to 27 square miles, that's really important. And it hasn't always been that way. We found some hot spots in the past and said, yeah, that's a great idea, let's put that there. We're putting the pieces back together in conjunction with the private sector. When Portman came to our staff and said, hey, what are you guys thinking of doing over here? What would you like to see? We're not developers. We don't build it. We don't put any money into it. But when we're asked the question, what do you think? It didn't take long to sit down and pick the pieces that were already there. You had Georgia State. You've got medical office. You've actually got a daycare. You've got a restaurant, kind of hodgepodged all up and down Brookside. And then you've got a barbecue restaurant that went out of business sitting empty. You've got 2 office buildings at the end that are 50% occupied, I think was the number at any given time. So some development change might be take one of the offices out, put some other living options in, move the people over, then you got a 100% occupied office building. You got new living options. You've got retail. And the next step was coming forward was Empire saying, hey, if that all is going on over there, what would you think if we connected from over here with a different living option, which is the single-family townhomes that are being proposed tonight? We went through multiple meetings as to what's too many units. They came back and said, look, you're right, we think it's a better fit at the 195, and we got a better idea. We're going to split it with another developer, so you'll have a different feel. You won't feel like an old back in the day, and I live in a John Wayland home where they kind of almost all look very similar. So there's variety back there. That's the vision. That's coming out of staff. That's coming up from the dais up here as to how do we go and make the areas that are already here better. Not replace them, make them better. These 2 pads right here are offices. It's a terrible place for an office. Like Mr. Wood said, I drive that corridor. My first home was right down the street at Park Creek. My second one's right on the corner. I drive that all the time. And that is definitely something that's missing in that area that really fits. Because if you look at Park Creek, you look at Park Brook, that residential component exists already, but it's just kind of spread out. And the real shot in the arm for a lot of that business residents or business tenants up and down that area that are there now, including Andy's, will get the shot in the arm that they really need. I think it's an amazing project, and I'm thankful for the staff for seeing that vision and sharing it with us, and then we were able to help carry it forward. So, as Councilman Dorito said, just explain my vote.
Councilman Brady.
Yeah, I won't be redundant, kind of saying that resonate pretty much the same comments that fellow councilman mentioned, but this was an area, I'm all kind of proud of staff in Alpharetta. I recognize an area that, is suffering for either just, market conditions in the office environment. We saw that deterioration. We saw an increase in vacancy in the office product. Did a reduction of that. I recognize Brookside as an area that we wanted to obviously analyze, and all those studies were done. This is years of kind of looking at an area and saying, how can we do it better, right? And how can we look at this? And we had one main ingredient in there is having the second largest university, so how could you not have a better catalyst for economic growth, for students, for education and supporting that area? And then Portman came and created a whole new plan. And this, to me, was when we looked at it as having the connectivity across the street into an office environment like that pad. I mean, it kind of worked. And I'd like to thank the applicant for their investment, first of all, into Alpharetta, but also just the process. You've been working on this for months and months, and you backed up and you redid it. So I can share a little bit. You guys were great about being open and sitting down about it. One of the things that I shared with you guys and you looked at is, creating a community within a community. To have in the communities that we kind of create today, to have those amenities and infrastructure and additional green space in their pools, clubhouses, those are all things that get people together, right? I'll call it the community inside the community because it's so important for people to connect, to build friendships, and that's really the essence and the fabric of our community. And it's done right there in your community and then the outer kind of community of Alpharetta as a whole, and you guys did those amenities at the request. You reduced kind of the overall density that was there. And I know we had some back and forth banter about the elevation, but you guys really stepped up. You stepped up really what the quality was, because one of the things we talked about is that in looking at this type of product was to make sure how it looks 10, 20, 30 years later. I say it all the time, don't want something for today that looks good today, looks really bad going down. And you elevated the product and really kind of rose to that occasion. So that was I want to thank you for your cooperation there, because you guys changed a lot of stuff, and it's great that we have applicant and kind of the city when we go through these things that there are changes. Sometimes when you ask for changes, there's nothing, it becomes a little resistant. It's tough to have this. So I just want to say I want to thank you very much for that and staff walking through this, and that's kind of the reason why I support it. Thank you.
Councilwoman Reeves.
I'm not going to be repetitive. I do appreciate the applicant, especially listening to the community. And I think that the back and forth is important, and everybody learns a lot. That being said, I'm the newer one up here, and so one of the newer ones up here. And, I remember Brookside coming, and I was actually sitting on the planning commission when the Brookside plan came, and I voted for it. And it was tough to vote for because the east side generally considers themselves much less dense, a little more single family. My first home was not far from Dan's home. I was right down on Park Forest, and probably as the crow flies, I live about a mile and a half from here. And it's so funny because when you're running for office and in your first year especially, you hear certain things pop up, they bubble up. Of course, people are talking about the mall, but the one thing I have heard more about, very heated discussions in the last 2 years, is townhomes. How many is the right number? There's a lot of controversy out there in our city about townhomes. I agree that you've put forward a lovely product, I really do. But I don't know what that right number is. I sure would love to see how Brookside comes out of the ground the other side and what the impact on the community is before we start digging ground on a lot more townhomes. A couple of comments were made. Mayor Pro Tem mentioned, as the mayor often does, we're 27 square miles. We have all these sister cities around us. And guess what they're all doing? They're all doing the exact same thing. They're converting space to townhomes, and in some cases, apartments. And I wonder, looking 10 years down the road, what are we looking at? And so as I make my decision tonight, that's what I'll be thinking about. I'll be thinking about what is the right thing. It's a request change in land use. And I don't know personally what the right number of townhomes is for Alpharetta. I know we've had a lot come out of the ground in the last few years, and I know I've heard a lot of comments about it. I don't know the exact answer, but I'll definitely appreciate all the work that has gone into this project.
Councilman Hypes.
Thank you, Mayor. I get asked from time to time, does it really make a difference if anybody shows up to a council meeting? Has everybody already made up their minds? Can you make a difference? And, the answer is you do make a difference when you show up to a council meeting. I'll readily confess, walking in those doors this evening, I was not inclined toward this project. But I had my reasons for not being inclined toward this project. And the reason is we're being asked to change the land use plan and a master plan, the Camden Pond Master Plan, which originated in the 1980s. I think it was last updated in 1997. And so it's sort of like a city subdivision. So the people who bought into that master plan as established through the city, they have rights to expect what's going to be built in their master plan, irrespective of what we would like to see built in the land use plan. And it's got professional building for the land use plan, and the master plan obviously had it commercial. So it made a huge difference to me what the adjoining neighbors thought. The people who lived in that master plan area mattered to me more than anybody else in this whole deal. If somebody wants to change the type of construction or uses within my residential community that's subject to an HOA and declarations and covenants, you can't just go change it unless everybody sort of agrees. Not everybody, but there's some consensus. So it was very, very important to me, and absolutely had an impact on me, that both HOAs came forward and spoke tonight. And had not come forward and spoke tonight, I don't know if I would be inclined for this project. But I understand that you can't please everybody who lives in Stone Ridge and Camden Pond. I think anybody's going to please all the people all the time. But I was struck by those who were in opposition. The person who was in opposition wasn't here to speak, and the person who wasn't here to speak was speaking on behalf of other people who weren't here to speak. It matters to me to hear from people, what they think about something, because it's easy to oppose something, but why? I want to know why. And in this case, I listened to the reasons for opposition to this particular project by the people who live in this master plan area. And I appreciate their reasons, but they have no impact on me. You're not entitled to a 100-foot buffer. And so you can ask for it, but asking ain't getting. And so you can ask for it, and if the applicant wants to concede to something that's not even really part of our planning code, then that's great, y'all working with them. But so I listened closely to the folks who were opposed. I listened closely to the HOAs who represented their communities at large and take them at their word that they're here to speak on behalf of their community. And the takeaway here is we do make up our minds sitting up here. We don't just walk in and just know what we're going to do, and we don't listen to folks, because it mattered. And then in this particular project, it may not be the project that I would have drawn for that particular location. It may have a few more homes in there than I would prefer, but my preference isn't the criteria. My preference is doing what's right for Alpharetta. My criteria is doing what's right for people in that master plan when y'all are asking us to change that master plan. And the benefits are obviously significant to that area in terms of less traffic versus a commercial use. One that's not lost on me is the potential with all that residential for impact fees that can both enhance the trail system off the greenway coming through that property, but also potentially be used across the road at Brookside Park. So those impact fees are very beneficial to all of Alpharetta as a whole. And my fellow council members have already talked about the benefits to the viability and success of the Portman project, which in turn can further the viability and success of the future Georgia State campus at that location. So I appreciate members of the public coming out and letting us know what you think. Thank you.
Councilman Driscoll.
I will speak here. A lot has been said, but I just want to speak to one thing to kind of come alongside what Councilman Hypes just alluded to, is where his ability for the information to change a perspective on something this evening. That may have happened for him when he walked through the door to see her to listen, but it happened weeks and months prior to, because of the commitment that someone that wanted to develop inside of our community took the time to really not just go through the motions to meet the minimum, but to keep going back, continue to keep working with the neighbors, and get as much buy-in as you could. You know, and I think that's a testament to this evening in that project at large on the north and the south side there, is getting the community that surrounded you engaged with you as a developer. And I hope that there's future developers that are listening and watching and modeling what y'all did on this project to get both OHOAs to speak in favor this evening. That didn't happen in one afternoon. So thank you for the willingness to not just invest in Alpharetta, but to invest in Alpharetta with as much buy-in as you can get from those that are surrounding. So thank you.
Okay, so I'll try not to talk for too long, but we've had some good conversation here, and I'll give you my first impression. When I first saw the plot that was presented to me months and months and months and months ago, and then I remember looking at it saying, well, there's a lot of houses here, but I don't see a neighborhood. And I wasn't inclined to have an open mind. And as other council members have said, they feel like this development team heard the feedback they got, not just from us, but from the neighbors. Because when it comes right down to it, the decisions we're making are the decisions we're making representing you. And so I think we've been very successful as a city over the last decade plus of creating an environment where most of the projects are not impacting our entire city and all the neighborhoods and things like that. But they're really important to the people that are nearby. And so we have encouraged, because nobody's got more at stake than the people that own the property and the people that own the properties next door. And so we weigh those heavily, and I think development teams that are successful have found that if they can just listen to their neighbors, they'll end up with a project that's good for the city, good with the neighbors, and good for the development team. And I think this is a clear example of that. I'll also say, one of the great things about having 7 people on our council is we have very different spheres of influence. Because my sphere of influence is fairly large, and I don't get a lot of complaints about townhouses. I don't doubt that there are people here in Alpharetta that don't like townhouses. There's a lot of different opinions. But I'll also say, I have watched people in this city. I get complaints about the mansions that are built on some of these older lots and the older neighborhoods and the loss of those, 1950 ranches and things like that. But I've also watched the people who complain about that change. I see their families getting enormous improvement in their property values that they can retire on. And one of the things that I don't think is minor is I believe this development is going to improve the property values and the quality of life for every one of the nearby residents, because what you have now is fine. It's what you wanted when you moved there. But I think that's why the neighborhoods wanted to improve those as well, because there were opportunities to do things that made your living experience there better. So you supported something that would be better for not only your families, but your property values. And I don't think we should dismiss that when other people are trying to choose what housing choices should be in the community to that extent. Councilwoman Reeves, I believe you had a question.
Mr. Woodman, have you looked at language for that tweak on that condition?
Yes, Councilwoman, we would recommend on condition number 14, if you wanted to have some clarity there with regard to that federal permit, we would suggest removing the sentence that references the federal permit and amending the sentence before it with the trail construction completed by the 90th CO. So in condition number 14, the sixth sentence begins, trail construction shall be completed by the, and it says 25th CO. We would change that to the 90th CO. That would be the maximum number of units that could be developed in any one of the two sides of the development. And then striking after CO, striking assuming there are no federal permits required. And then the sentence following it that references the federal permit and the developer and staff working together, completely striking that sentence altogether. Does that make sense?
That makes a lot of sense. And could I make a friendly amendment to the amendment? Procedurally?
Mayor Pro Tem, Councilman Driscoll, do y'all accept that as a friendly amendment?
What was just read by Michael, yes.
Yes, thank you.
Councilman
We have to
Driscoll?
vote on that?
No, as long as it's a friendly amendment, you don't have to vote on it.
I'll make sure I'm doing things right.
No, that's fine. I just wanted to make sure we were all clear.
Just for the record, it looks like Councilman Driscoll was nodding his head yes.
We can hear it over there.
That being done, all those in favor of the motion to approve, please vote yes. And it does pass 6-1. Congratulations. So the next item up on our agenda is E-26-01, Howard Capital Sign Exception. Director Cook, I believe you are presenting this item.
Mayor and Council, the next item before you, the applicant Patty Huxford is requesting consideration of a sign exception to allow for an additional wall sign. Oh. Thank you. The property is located at 415 South Broad Street at the southeast corner of Highway 9 and South Broad Street.
Not here, at least.
The property is zoned MU, subject to the City Center Master Plan. Property is developed with a 4-story, 38,850 square foot office building with with ground floor retail. Let me put a picture up here. For office buildings, they are allowed, if you're over 2 stories, you're allowed 20 square foot per story. So this applicant is allowed 80 square foot. Our code says that if you want to use a blade sign like they have that's located on the corner of the building, you can use up to half of the permitted square footage for a blade sign. And so they do have blade signs, so they're requesting that in addition to that, they also have their logo that would be placed on the building here, and I have a blow-up of what that looks like. You can see a lot of times with these historic buildings, it's very difficult to put the entire signage in one location. So the request is just to split that square footage. And I'll show you what this looks like, a blow-up of the logo here with the lion face. So if the two signs were approved, they would still be under the permitted square footage for wall signage on the building. And we have other examples throughout the city where you've permitted this. A few examples, you may remember the Honey Baked Ham, where they did the pig logo, and then they had the smaller sign. We also just went through the Studio Movie Grill in the last couple of years. They did something very similar, breaking up the signage. Staff is recommending approval with two conditions. The recommendation is to approve with two conditions. One, the location, number, sign copy area, and illumination shall be limited to the submitted site plans. And two, maximum wall and blade sign area for the office building, not including ground floor retail storefront, shall be limited to no more than 70.25 square feet. And then I forgot to mention, this was also at the Citizen Zoning Information Meeting. We did not have any comments from the public. Happy to answer any questions you may have.
Do we have any questions for Director? Councilman Brady?
I'm sorry, did you say it's illuminated or not?
So this is internally illuminated.
From
So
the
it's
back?
not, yes, so it's not the cabinet, the plastic cabinet that has the interior
But
internal
at night you'll
illumination.
see it up there illuminated.
Yeah, and this is required to go to Design Review Board.
Yep, thank you.
Any other questions for Director Cook? Thank you, ma'am. Would the applicant like to come forward?
And it's on, Patty. Just come right here. Thank you.
Hello, Mayor and Council. My name is Patty Huxford. I am with the Huxton Group. We are a local here in Alpharetta Sign Company, been in business a very long time. So I've stood here a few times. Thank you for your time and consideration of this. Pretty simple little ask, I think, after what we just experienced. The Howard Capital did just purchase that building. They are occupying the 3rd and 4th floors. The blade sign was existing. We looked at taking that down. It would have been some structural changes to the building. I mean, it involved a lot. Their name is not well-known. I mean, a lot of people Howard Capital won't mean anything, but the logo is just kind of cool. It would add something. We put it low enough so you could see it as you come down, as you're approaching the building. You don't really see it from the green too well because the trees are now grown up, and the blade sign is not very well seen either, just because it's east and west and the building sits north and south. But you asked about the lighting, Mr. Brady. It is internally lighted, but it meets the city's code for halo lighting. So all the lighting would be very subtle. Did you have that night view of it? Okay. It's a very subtle halo look all around the main, and so the face is not lit, but there's a halo lighting around it to meet the city's requirements. I'm sorry, I'm at 5715 North Commerce Drive. I was supposed to say that. Are there any questions about the sign, the location?
Do we have any questions from council?
The lion is cool.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Good.
Ms. Shapiro, do we have any public comment cards on this item?
We do not, Mr. Mayor.
However, if anyone would like to come forward,
So there's your night view.
I don't see anyone coming forward, so we'll close public comment. Do I have a motion from council?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor, I'd offer a motion this evening to approve E-26-01 Howard Capital sign exception as presented by Ms. Cook.
Second.
I have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem, second by Councilman Brady. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion to approve, please vote yes. And it does pass unanimously. So the next item on our agenda is PH-26-14, Verdant Gated Subdivision. Director Cook, once again, you have the floor.
Mayor and Council, this next application is an application regarding Verdant. They're requesting a gated subdivision, and this is at Charlotte Drive, Rucker Road area. And the request is consideration of allowing the 41-lot single-family detached subdivision to be gated with private streets. When it was approved in 2024, it was not approved to be gated, so it would have been public streets. But of course, with a request for private streets, then that would be converted and conditioned and platted to be a private street. Property was rezoned to R22 in 2024, allows the 41-lot single-family detached subdivision. The site plan depicts the 41-lot single-family detached gated subdivision served by the private streets, of course, the conversion. The subdivision is estimated to generate 34 AM peak hour trips and 44 PM peak hour trips. Entrance to the subdivision consists of one-way ingress and separate one-way egress. And the gated entrance that they proposed provides 85 feet. Our code requires 80 feet, so they are meeting the stacking requirements. And I'll show you a blow-up of what that entrance looks like off of Charlotte Drive. And they were already approved. When they were approved in 2024, they already showed the separated entrance. So they already had an entrance one way in, one way if you're leaving. They had some tree save that was in the middle. So they were able to easily come back in and put the gate in and have the turnaround for delivery trucks, as well as over 80 feet for the stacking of cars. So we weren't concerned with what they're requesting. The city's transportation engineer reviewed the applicant's proposal and believes that the gated subdivision entrance has been designed with the appropriate stacking length, the turnaround radii, and other considerations. We are recommending approval, subject to 5 conditions. And this item was heard at the Citizen Zoning Information Meeting, and we did not have any public comments at that meeting. Recommending approval, but can answer any questions you may have.
Mayor Pro Tem?
All right, Ms. Cook, maybe just the way you said it. You said that the gated part was not approved in 2024. Did they ask for it and get denied?
They
Or
did
they
not
never
ask-
asked for it?
They didn't ask for it at that time. And,
Okay,
yeah,
that's all I
so-
need to know. That's
So
it.
that's something that they came back with.
I got you.
And I forgot to put up the elevation of what the gates would look like. And of course, this is pushed back into the development here.
Okay. Do we have any other questions for Director Cook? Councilman Brady?
Just to confirm, when we turn or approve a private gate like this in a private community, that they're responsible for the roads going forward? Is that correct? That they're
That's correct, they'll
responsible
be
for all their-
private. And the reason we make it to where council has to approve is because in some locations, you may want to see future connections to other roadways or streets, so you don't want to see it gated. But that's not the case here. It's fully developed behind, of course, adjacent to the property. And even Jennifer Oaks that abuts the property is also gated. So we don't think that there's going to be any connection from the development to any other developed subdivision.
So they take all responsibility for their roads going forward?
Yes.
Okay, great, thank you.
Any other questions from council? Thank you, Director.
Thank you.
Would the applicant like to come forward at this time?
All right. Thank you, Mayor and Council, for having us here tonight. And thank you, Ms. Cook, for your very detailed explanation on this case and providing information. So on this one.
Name and address.
I'm sorry?
Name and
Oh,
address.
I do apologize. Richard Edward, 55 Island Avenue Junior Boulevard, Atlanta, Georgia.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Just needed to get it on the record.
All right, no problem. So on this one, as Ms. Cook was explaining, we never asked for the private gates at the time, but our team, as we've developed this, these are going to be our luxury estate lots, which each lot will be over half an acre, and some of our higher-end product that we have in our company. So with that, with our research, we found that there is a desire from the price point buyers So we've decided to come back and request this. As you see on the site plan here, we didn't have to touch the median or any of the specimen trees there. We did have to relocate some of the driveways there, so the driveways are now interior as opposed to on that entrance there, which actually provides for a better flow of traffic anyways. And nothing else has changed on this site plan, and we're not asking for any other changes other than installing this gate and making them private. And then here you'll see, we did change the brick on here. The brick will match the entrance monument sign brick that is currently there, so everything will look uniform and nice for the whole subdivision. And I think on our end, that's all we have. So happy to answer any questions you all may have.
Do we have any questions for the applicant? Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
Ms. Shapiro, any public comment cards?
We do not have any cards submitted at this time.
I lost my screen. There we go. We're starting over again. Do we have a motion?
I didn't catch that.
Oh, I think, Mayor, can you call for public comment?
Pardon?
Can you call for public comment?
Do we have any public comment? I don't see anyone coming forward for public comment, so we'll close public comment.
Would you like a motion?
I would like a motion if you have a motion.
Yes, sir,
I
Mr.
second
Mayor.
that emotion.
Emotions. I would like to approve item PH-26-14 Verdant Gated Subdivisions presented this evening by staff.
Have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem. Do we have a second?
Second.
Have a second by Councilman Dorito. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion, please vote yes. And it does pass unanimously. Congratulations. Now we'll move on to the new business portion of tonight's meeting. First item under new business is the request for proposal 26-107, Alpha Loop / Link Design Build from Encore Parkway to Lakeview Lake, an intergovernmental agreement with True North 400. Director Sisevich,
Yes.
get to stand up.
This is a exciting project for everybody. We did an RFP for a design build for the Alpha Loop, originally from Haynesbridge Road to Encore Parkway. We went with the design build approach to help control the cost and know what the cost could be, as well as so that we could also work with the design build team to negotiate pricing and come up with value engineering opportunities. That cost came in over budget by about, came in around $24 million, excuse me. Got with the two firms, started working closely, started finding out some VE opportunities, and if you recall, a couple of months ago, or basically a month ago, we acquired the property at Encore Fanfare with a land swap with GDOT. That dramatically reduced the price by a couple $1 million, but we also decided just to phase the project and go from the lake at Lakeview or Morrison Lake to Encore Parkway. And that dropped the price even more. So Rees Young's price came in at $14.7 million to do that section. And then we decided, well, can we do some things that we have been missing along different aspects of the Alpha Loop? And this section of the Alpha Loop is unique because it's a 20-foot easement for almost 80% of the path. And we're going to fit a 12-foot wide trail and a 20-foot easement. So it's going to be raised the majority of the way in some cases. And if we can find the grade, we're going to do the grade and be at grade. But one thing we do have missing along certain areas is parking. And so we asked the design build team to come up with a concept for some parking. And when they came up with the parking concept, they also came up with a plaza concept. Granted, we know we were over budget, so we went to go see some partner, True North 400. True North 400 came to the table and is contributing just shy of $1 million, basically 50% of the plaza and the on-street parking. So all that to say, we're coming in at just shy of $16 million. It's $15,991,962 to do the trail from the lake. It'll be 12-foot wide. It'll be lit all the way to Encore Parkway with the plaza as well and the parallel parking along Fanfare. I'm looking at about an 18-month schedule for this. If we could go faster, we will, but we have it's not an easy construction project given we only have 20 feet to work in. So we got a good team. Rees Young has done projects like this in the past. throughout the city of Atlanta, so we're confident they could deliver this project in the timely fashion that they set forward at the budget that they set forward.
Do we have any questions? Councilman Brady?
You mentioned on budget or below budget?
We're going to be, so right now, if council awards is at shy of 16 million, that is our budget. We hope that we'll bring in, there is about a $400,000 contingency in that dollar amount. And we have done, to help that cost come down even more, Work 03 is young, we also did geotechnical work out there. So we have got soil borings already, so we know what type of soil we're dealing with. So we should, that's our number, 16 million, right shy of 16 million.
Gotcha, thank you.
Councilman Hydes?
Yeah, Pete, we've done a couple of other long stretches of Alpha Loop. I'm thinking about downtown to Avalon and certainly the post office to Northwinds. Is there, as we've done those sections, is there anything that we've learned from those sections that we need to incorporate or that we are incorporating so that we're getting it on the front end and not on the back end?
The big thing is parking. I don't think there's any parking on any other aspects of the Alpha Loop that when we initially started the project. We've worked with some partners and some parking over at Northwinds from reserved parking spaces. That's one. We're also looking at probably adding some conduit that we haven't had in some other areas so that if there's afterthoughts of doing some electrical work, that came in very handy on the section from Old Milton, from Old Milton to Northwinds, where we added extra conduit so we could run future electrical lines or future fiber. So those are the two big things that pop up. But this area here, it's a tight fit. There's not much we can do in 20 feet. So you're going to see a lot less landscaping, a lot less art along the corridor, just because there's nowhere to put it.
I understand the issue of whether or not call boxes were needed has been addressed because we have cell phones nowadays, but that's a very long remote stretch that would go through a wooded area. So is that something that if internally or council or whatever the case is determined that there was some benefit to having one or more call boxes along that way for safety that we could look at?
We're looking at that. We also, I'm looking at more into the specifications of the project. There is closed caption TVs we have in there as well for security measures. And I talked to Morgan, Director Rogers earlier this evening about it, and they're looking at implementing a signage system that lets folks know where they are, so when the police call on their cell phone, they know exactly where they're located. He specified Cobb County's got a program like that. It's worked very well. He's looking at implementing something like that in our areas, on our trails as well.
This section is, we fully anticipate this will be behind a sound barrier wall?
Yes, sir.
And is any of our construction timeline dependent upon the wall going up first, or we don't care?
We're independent.
We're independent. And we know that even if, we know where DOT's wall will be, and they're not going to change their plans, right?
I'm going to say, we know where GDOT's wall is as of today. I don't believe they're going to change it because that means they have to get another easement. So I'm pretty comfortable, and we're pushed back from that as well. We're not exactly on top of the wall, the sound barrier wall. If I had to guess, I would say that the trail will be built, and then the wall will be built after the trail.
Will it be more than a gentleman's agreement that, once we start laying concrete where the path is going to be, that they're going to say, okay, we're fine with putting the wall where we said we would? Or do you think they can run rampant on saying we need to move it if
We're far enough away. I don't think they're going to be right on top of us, but we most definitely will work with GDOT and keep in the loop of where they're at, no pun intended there, to keep where they're at on the project, so that if something does, we have to shift ours a little bit, we can work with our contractor on that.
So I walk Morrison Lake a fair bit nowadays, and probably the most beautiful stretch of the Alpha Loop in town. And whereabouts does that connect with Morrison Lake?
Hold on 1 second. That's about, right around there is the general idea of where we're looking at.
Oh, okay.
It is a design build, just like GDOT's 400 project is, so things will shift a little bit here and there as we get more in-depth into the design, but that's the general area.
Okay. Thank you.
Councilwoman Reeves.
Will it be lit? Will there be lights along the way?
Excuse me?
Lights,
Yes.
lighting?
It'll be
And have you considered making sure, I know there's conduit there, are you going to make sure that there is access to electricity? I'm not saying they're going to do lights on the loop there, but I don't know what we're going to look at in the future, and it seems that adding it after the fact would be really a pain in the neck, especially with the topo.
We most definitely will talk about that. That was all after all this illumination, lighting was after our RFP, so we could work with the vendor on that. A lot of it's raised, so it makes it a little more challenging to figure out where we could put some of the outlets, because when it's raised, if you've been on the bridge behind Northwoods, the lights aren't on the actual bridge, they're in the handrail of the bridge. So that little stretch just makes it difficult to put any form of electrical outlets or anything.
That makes sense. And this is a perfect example of value engineering and putting your head to the thing and trying to get the most bang for the buck. And I'm thrilled to see this much of a stretch connecting the loop. We're almost there. We're almost to the Greenway, so that's kind of exciting.
Any other questions? Thank you, Pete.
Thank you.
Ms. Shapiro.
We have no public comment cards for this item.
However, if anyone would like to come forward and speak on this item, now's your chance. Don't see anyone coming forward, so we'll close public comment. Do I have a motion from council?
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that we award RFP 26-107 for Alpha Loop Link Trail Design Build from Encore Parkway to Lakeview Lake to Reeves Young with a contract term of 18.5 months and an amount not to exceed $15,991,962, and approve the agreement with True North 400 and authorize the mayor to execute all necessary documents.
I have a motion by Councilwoman Reeves, second by Councilman Hypes. Any discussion? Councilman Hypes.
As somebody said at the outset, this is a great day for Alpharetta. When I first sat up here in 2018, we had not completed any segments of the Alpha Loop. And according to Connected Alpharetta, we currently have 6 miles of Alpha Loop, and we have 12 miles of Greenway. When the initial price tag of $25 million was put on the Alpha Link, I thought it would be forever known as the missing link, because I wasn't sure that we could get $25 million in the foreseeable future. To echo Councilmember Reeves, just, tremendous thanks and appreciation for making this project work for our city. The section that goes through Lakeview is a beautiful section. I'm glad we're encouraging people to use the Alpha Loop that goes around Morrison Lake, and we're connecting from there. I don't have enough words to thank True North 400. It's not just the Encore Plaza, but it's the Encore Gateway and all the other contributions that they've made for our trail system, which also enhances the businesses in their footprint. So this is a really, really great thing. It was June 1, 2024 that we cut the ribbon on the last $15 million segment from the post office at Old Milton Parkway down to Northwinds. I think it was 2022, a bunch of us had hard hats on. We were turning dirt over to start that project. And to imagine how extensive this trail system came from just an idea to really prioritizing it, because it's what makes Alpharetta great. It's quality of life. And I'm just proud as can be that we're doing the Alpha Link now, and we're doing it for $16 million with $1 million from True North CID. So tremendous job, Pete. Thanks.
Thank you, sir.
Councilman Brady?
I just wanted to first of all, it's a great project from a fiscal perspective. I'd just like to thank you, Pete, and staff and the department under how you're doing your bidding and how you're out there, the design bills, the CM requests that you have out there for the contracting really makes a big difference. I know Councilwoman Reeves just mentioned something about the value engineering, but this happened at the parks, and the Parks Department did this at Wills Park. It just really makes a big difference to how efficient we are out there, and how we're able to stay in budget and kind of really get this going. That's why I was asking about the budget. I know you're a little bit less, but I just love to hear that. And also attracting good groups. I know Reeves Young done a great job, so I'm just excited to see this get launched, but I'd love to see the fiscal aspect of it applied for the best efficiency for the city. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, if I could add one more thing to my remarks, which I failed to add, and that is, most folks who have followed the Alpha Link know it's the connection to the Greenway, the loop to the Greenway via Encore and the Encore Gateway. And, but, you know, this is actually our second connection because it's often overlooked when you take the Alpha Loop south from Avalon on North Winds and you get to the hill at Kimball Bridge where Jackson Healthcare is. With the improvements that we've made to Kimball Bridge Road and the very wide sidewalks on Kimball Bridge Road, we don't call it the Alpha Loop, but it's every bit of a wide trail sidewalk that goes straight down to Rock Mill Park and connects that part of the Alpha Loop to the Greenway. So in effect, this will be a second connection to the Greenway, whether we give it a label or not. And I think that's important because that just opens up connections for all parts of our city for people on bicycles and walking and joggers, et cetera. So.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please vote yes. And it is unanimous.
Thank you, Mayor and Council.
Thank you, Pete. Next one is the request for proposal 26-115 on-call storm pipe lining services contract approval and fiscal year 27 task order 1 funding. Pete?
All right, so Mayor and Council, we have 2 vendors for this type of work. We have what's CIPP, which basically is slip lining a corrugated metal pipe with the material so it can last another 50 to 75 years. Then we have spin casting, where basically are spraying the inside of the corrugated metal pipe so it will last another 50 to 75 years. These 2 methods are used instead of replacing the corrugated metal pipe in its entirety with concrete. So it's less invasive and it's much more affordable. The top rated firm for the CIIP was NGI, and for the spin cast was UAM. UAM is already under contract with our spin casting, so that is the reason why we're not asking for any additional funds for them at this time. They already have an open PO from their previous contract. Hence, we're asking for $1,927,089.92 to NGI for their task order for all the work they're going to do. And they are going to be doing, I had the note here. There we go. Over, I think it was, oh my lord, 50 streets, or 50 pipes we're going to be taking care of with that task order, ranging in sizes from 18 inches to 30 inches.
Have any questions for Pete on this item? Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
And we
Ms.
have
Shapiro?
we have no public comment cards, sir.
However, anybody wants to come by and comment on this item, now's your chance. I don't see anyone coming forward, so we'll close public comment. Do I have a motion from council?
Yes, Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to award RFP number 26-115 for on-call storm pipe lining services to NGI Trenchless Pipe and Sewer Repair, Inc., CIPP, and Utility Asset Management, Inc., SpinCast, to a 1-year contract with the option of 4 1-year renewals and approve funding to NGI Trenchless Pipe and Repair, Inc. for FY 2027 CIPP Storm Pipe Lining Task Order Number 1 in an amount not to exceed $1,927,089.92. Authorize the mayor to execute all necessary documents.
Thank you, ma'am. Do we have a second? Okay. Councilman Brady has a second for you. Councilwoman Reeves? Any discussion?
One item.
Councilwoman Reeves?
I just want to make note that it's nice to see how many vendors actually respond to your RFPs. It ensures that you get the best deal. Must mean that we as a city are very good to work with. So I appreciate that.
We do pay our bills. Any other discussion? All those in favor, please vote yes. It passes unanimously. Pete, I believe you might have something else on there.
Yes, sir.
Request for proposal 26-117, on-call pipe cleaning services, contract approval, and fiscal year 27 task order 1 funding.
Yes, so Mayor, Council, this is one of the tools in our toolbox for cleaning out catch basins is basically vacuuming out all the debris that's in there, all the leaves, all the grass, all the sediment that's built up in the catch basin as well as in our pipes before we do some additional work. We issued out the RFP and we had 10 firms submit. NGI had the highest rated, but they were also the lowest priced too. So we're getting the most competent firm as well from the proposal as well as the best priced firm. And this would be also a yearly contract.
Any questions for Pete? Thank you, Pete.
Thank you.
Do we have any public comment cards?
We do not, Mr. Mayor.
I don't see anyone coming forward, so we'll close public comment. We'll have a motion from council.
You do. Make a motion to award RFP 26-117 to NGI Trenchless Pipe and Repair, Inc. for on-call pipe cleaning services and approve funds in the amount of $150,000 for FY27 Task Order 1 and authorize the mayor to execute all necessary documents.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Was that Mayor Pro Tem or was that Councilman Dweedog? Okay. Couldn't tell. I was looking the other direction. Any discussion? All those in favor, please vote yes. And it passes unanimously, so we'll move right along to the invitation to bid 27-001, fiscal year 2027 milling and resurfacing. Director Sisevich.
Yes, Mayor and Council, this is our milling resurfacing contract that went out for competitive bids, not an RFP. It was a hard bid. If you recall, we had LMIG projects as well associated with this. So this is basically the accumulation of LMIG and LRA funding that we get from GDOT, as well as our fiscal year budget that we pull from T-SPLOST funds for milling resurfacing. We received 7 bids that came in with CW Matthew as the lowest, and that includes them using the alternate. We have loops that we tear up when we do the milling at signalized intersections. So this is going to include repairing those loops in a more timely manner, and then the striping to take place about a couple weeks after we do the resurfacing. So it's all bundled as one project. So instead of going to 3 different vendors and managing 3 different contracts, we're going to manage one contract with one vendor. I will also say that this price came in lower than we anticipated. Not often I like to say that asphalt came in lower than we budgeted what it did. So last year, the average cost per ton for asphalt was $116. It came in at $113. We budgeted $120. So we have those funds left over in that account, so it came in under budget than we anticipated. And then the cost per lane mile has also went down a good bit from $171,000 per lane mile to $141,000 a lane mile. And that includes us soil cementing 2 streets in the city, Cogburn Road as well as Sill Drive. So it's
Awesome.
basically a year-long contract. So our goal is to be done by June 30th of next year.
And just because we're talking about resurfacing, it's been a while since we've talked about the ratings of our streets here. I'm not asking you to do it right now. I'm just going to say, maybe it'd be a good idea to give us an update and give the public an update on the rating, because we haven't really talked about that lately.
I'm ready.
All right?
We have a road rating of a PCI, pavement condition index of 78. And after doing these roads, we'll be hovering just right around 80. Now, we got to reevaluate that. So I'll basically say we're probably between 78, 79 when we're done, because some of the previous roads will degrade a little bit. So we're right in that sweet spot.
And just for the public that might be listening somewhere else from home, years ago, we found that it was much better to have actual data to show us which roads were worse than just hearing from the people that had the loudest complaints about their roads and things like that. And so we started actually assessing our roads by an independent contractor, and we've been working towards having a much better result.
So anything above 75 is considered good. Now, don't get me wrong, we have a lot of roads that are listed in below that, and we choose selectively on when to repair those bad roads. We don't repair the worst roads initially, because they can't get any better. So, and it's gonna cost the same no matter how we do it, when they hit it below a certain level.
Great. Well, thank you for knowing that off the top of your head. Not that I'm shocked, but
Just prepared.
yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? All those in favor, please vote yes.
Mr. Mayor,
There
we did
wasn't?
not make a motion on this item.
Motion.
Okay, do we have a
I will make a motion. I will make a motion. I'm like, did we do that? And I look down, I see the green, I'm like, I don't know.
Oh, I was looking at the previous one. I had Councilwoman Reeves and Mayor Pro Tem.
I've been doing a lot of them tonight. Make a motion to approve the award of invitation to bid number 27-001 to CW Matthews Contractors for an amount totaling $4,093,950.56 for FY 27 milling and resurfacing project, and authorize the mayor to execute all necessary documents.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion by Councilwoman Reeves and a second by Councilman Dorito.
And we have
Now-
no public comment cards on this item, Mr. Mayor.
I think I already called for, well, any public comments? I don't see any coming forward, so we'll close public comment. All those in favor, please vote yes. And it does pass unanimously.
Thank you, Mayor and Council.
Thank you, Pete. You do a great job, man. Next item is the Microsoft Enterprise Agreement for Software Services with Dell Marketing LP. Director Montgomery, you have the floor.
There we go. Thank you, Mayor and Council. This is a one-year agreement with 2 annual renewals, as the legal team would tell me to say. It's a 3-year agreement. We do this every 3 years. This agreement is no different really than the previous agreements, other than just the items that are on it. There is a significant increase in the price from the current 3-year agreement to the next, to our next agreement. And so I thought I'd take a few minutes, just kind of talk through why that is. There are 4 primary reasons for it. On the screen, what you see now is our current agreement ends at the end of this month. Council approved this agreement for $290,000 3 years ago. And during the 3-year agreement, the way Microsoft works for most items, if you have a need for purchasing something during the middle of the agreement, you have to sort of buy a prorated amount for however many months are left in that 3-year agreement. And so what you're seeing here is some additional licensing that was purchased as the technology needs increased or changed during that 3-year agreement. These were purchased anywhere in the first, second, or third year, depending on the amounts, which is why you see different amounts listed there between the different items that were purchased. Example, we began to purchase some Copilot licensing in year 3, and you see sort of the different pricing there based on how many months were left in the agreement. You combine those licenses now to the full 3-year agreement that we are requesting, is what you see on your screen now. There are 2 additions that we are asking for in the new agreement. So today we have 25 Copilot licenses. After working with many of the departments and staff, we're looking to expand that now. That was sort of a trial period that we were sort of running, seeing who can use these licenses. We've estimated the need for about 100 licenses. Of the 700 users, we think about 100 of them will use this license, the Microsoft 365 Copilot licensing. So it would be an increase of 75 of those licenses, which is the 100 bold number that you see. The line right below that is actually a catch-up.
Microsoft made a mistake in the previous agreement and didn't charge us for something that they were supposed to. And so they caught it this time. It's $2,700, so it's not a massive impact, but it's mainly related to our G1 users, which are our board members and some volunteers, those kinds of folks that have the lower level licenses. So that is the agreement, as you're seeing here, is what's being proposed. Is there anything in there that you have any questions around that I can answer before I move on?
Do we have any questions?
Okay. Try to make it a little simpler to look and just kind of see where the changes are. Obviously, most of the increase is related to our AI initiatives here. So the increase in Copilot and the increase in some of the 365 licensing that we needed, along with a pretty significant Microsoft increase in their pricing that they have announced year over year since the original 3-year that we're in now. This is the breakout by department. Every department contributes to this. There is not a department that doesn't use Microsoft. So we break this out. The team takes a lot of time and effort to identify every account, every license, everywhere Microsoft might be used, and assigning it appropriately to the right department and budgeting within those departments the correct amount. And in summary, the new EA agreement is $372,391.27 per year. This was planned for. We saw this coming. And so in the budget process, we asked for an appropriate amount. And so this is within the current operating budget and is purchased on a state contract through Dell Marketing LP, as it has been for the last 20 years. There is a net increase here of about $82,000. The 4 reasons, as I've explained, were additional licenses bought during the current agreement, a 5 to 8% increase in just the price of running Microsoft that Microsoft had announced last fall, the 75 additional 365 Copilot licenses, and of course the error fix and the G1 licenses. With that, it is staff recommendation to approve the enterprise agreement with Dell.
Thank you, Director. Ms. Shapiro, any public comment cards?
We have none, Mr. Mayor.
And I don't see any public comments coming forward, so we'll close public comment. Do we have any questions for Mr. Councilman Hypes?
Director Montgomery, one of my bigger concerns in recent years has been how much the city pays or has to pay in license fees.
Sure.
And I believe it was not this budget season, but the prior one, we were north of $5 million at the start of the year for license fees. And you know, I listen closely to see what these increases are because it seems somewhat monopolistic and we really don't have a choice of vendors. I hate to say that. So we just have to accept these price increases. And it's as much a comment as a question or maybe a charge to you, but when we get towards our retreat in January, I would really love some brainstorming on how we can get these license fees under control. I have no idea what that looks like. I don't know what our alternatives are. I don't know if ownership versus rental / leasing licenses is something we do, but it has gone from a noticeable amount of money as a percentage of our budget when we start the year to a somewhat significant amount of money. And I want to bring it to your attention in the IT department because licenses seem to flow through the IT department and then through all these other departments. And I've already acknowledged I'm not looking for an answer here, but I want to put it on our radar. I want to put it on my fellow council members' radar that if there is something that we can do to rein this in and keep it under control, I think we'd be better for it. So.
Councilwoman Reeves.
Just to follow up, I think we're one of many organizations, particularly governmental organizations, that have a lot of these subscriptions, licenses, whatever you call it. I love the idea of going over it in January and kind of taking a global look at it. Even seeing a chart where instead of going, God, didn't we just do a contract for whatever? To be able to just understand them. I think understanding them puts us in a position where we ask less questions, actually, because we kind of know it's what's ticking. It's more and more of the fabric underneath us and keeping us working and functioning every day. So I think that's a great idea, Councilman Hypes, and I look forward to the info in January.
Any other questions? All right. Don't see anyone coming forward, so do we have a motion?
Yes, Mayor, I move to approve the agreement and purchase order for Microsoft Enterprise Agreement to Dell Marketing LP using state contract number 99999, SPD, SPD 0000060-006 for $372,391.27 and authorize the mayor to execute all necessary documents.
Do we have a second? Councilman Brady? Any discussion? All those in favor, please vote yes. And it does pass unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you, Director. Well, I don't think anybody's coming forward with a public comment. Do we have any reports?
I don't have an answer for that. Is there something else I can help with? I didn't do that.
I did have
Cut
two
that
comment.
license.
I have no idea what
I did have two public comment cards, but I think they have both since departed. So,
If it's Ms. McDaniels, I believe I'll be seeing her at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. So we're good to
Do
go.
we have any reports? Councilwoman Reeves?
I'm having a community meeting at the community room across the way on Wednesday night at 6 p.m. Look forward to everybody coming. I'm going to try to help everybody navigate through the website because we do such a good job putting so much info on the website and talk about any other things. We got a lot of things coming up this week. So
We do.
I look forward to fielding the questions.
Do we require a executive session?
We do, and we've got a couple topics that may take a little while tonight.
May
so-
I quickly get a motion and
Litigation.
vote to recess to executive session?
Motion to recess to executive session.
We have a motion by Councilwoman Reeves, second by Councilman Mayor Pro Tem Merkel. All those in favor of vote to recess in executive session, vote yes. Councilman Dorito? I need your vote to go into, no, that's fine. There we go. All right. We will be adjourning into a recessing into executive session. Be back shortly. Do we have a motion to reconvene? I have a motion by Councilman Driscoll. Do we have a second to
Second.
reconvene? Second by Councilwoman Reeves. All those in favor of reconvening, please vote yes. We are reconvened. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion by Councilman Doritos, second by Mayor Pro Tem. Was it Fergal or Mayor Pro? Pro Tem, okay. All those in favor of adjourning, please vote yes. It's unanimous. We are adjourned.